Hi, Tammy Jaffe here. Welcome to our weekly wisdom. We have a very special guest for you today, Miss Pamela Howard. She is an amazing woman who has been through so many things, and as an event planner, she had to figure out what to do during this time of shifting from being an event planner for some amazing events, all different kinds of events. She's been doing this for years, and now how to help people more with their online events and how to figure some of these things out. So this is going to be an amazing episode because during this time, I know, we've kind of had that time where we're like, okay, this is going to be temporary, right? And now it looks like, okay, this might be a little bit longer term. And so for those of you who may have pushed off some of this online event stuff, now you're realizing, okay, now I need to catch up. And some of you have doing the online stuff are now like looking for better ways to do it. So Pamela is here to give you some guidance and some tips for doing exactly that. So I'm going to let Pamela introduce herself a little bit here. So Pamela, tell us about yourself and how you got started.
Yeah, Tammy, thank you so much for having me today. So it's funny how I got started in the business. I actually had no intentions on being an event planner. I actually, at the time, was in the medical field and I was a cosmetologist managing two salons. But within those professions, I found myself gravitating to the educational side of it. When it came to the medical field, I was just intrigued with planning and education. And then with the cosmetology side, I was more into the platform artistry and planning the platform shows as well as fashion shows. And then I started to learn that this is more my passion than actually just using my hands.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about how your business has run over the last, I think it's what, been 17 years. You've had kind of couple businesses. So tell us a little bit about that. Give some
Yeah.
people some background and inspire them by everything you have done.
Yes. So shortly after my wedding, believe it or not, the worst thing probably could have happened to a bride, and that was I almost thought my wedding wasn't going to happen. A couple of bad things that happened was the owner of the facility actually sold it a month prior to my wedding, and then the person that purchased it really didn't understand or have a good concept of how the wedding industry worked. So needless to say, there was a really bad storm. It was a beautiful villa on the Lake Wiley, on Lake Wiley, and it actually we actually had no power. So I was left with nowhere for my guests to stay. Everything that we had planned on the water, the boat rides, everything was just canceled, and there was no one there with any knowledge that had a contingency or what to do about taking care of the bride, which was me. So because of that experience, I had to do a lot of research on my own with learning how to manage my wedding and get other and be able to get other vendors that didn't show up. My wedding planner didn't show up. So many things happened. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but the lesson that I learned in that is the research. And I wanted to portray a business that knew how to have contingencies, had plan Bs, because at the end of the day, things are going to happen. Things will happen, and it's how you handle those things when it happened that separates you from the amateurs and the professional. So moving forward, I started a company with my husband, Howard and Howard Event Management and Catering, full service event management and catering company. I managed the event side. My husband being in the industry already at that time, 10 plus years, managed the catering side. And together we just merged our passions together and created a full service event management and catering company. Through those years, I've been able to understand how business to business work, business to customer work as it pertains to the event industry and the hospitality industry, and have learned a lot of different ways to do things simpler, cost effective, uh, and more productive, all to get a better return on your investment, to be able to engage a broader audience, and also to be able to continue to generate and grow your database. after about in the last 4.5 years, I decided to pursue more of my passion, which is event management, event planning strategies, and being able to consult other businesses who are just wanting to grow their business through the power of events. Events are a powerful way to incorporate all those things, being able to reach your audience, being able to generate income. You don't necessarily have to be selling anything, especially if you're just looking to showcase your product or services. And so this is how Pamela Plans and Consulting works for you today.
That's awesome. And I know that with everything shifting, it shifted your business, and you have been one of the people who was like, okay, I got to figure this out, quickly. I've got to, pivot. I've got to do some changes, because for both of you and your husband's business, it was very much, people gathering, people getting together. And so
Absolutely.
and now you're helping people with these virtual events as well. And so tell me, what have you seen have been the significant differences between the physical events and the virtual events?
To be quite honestly, a lot of people have really made a big deal or been panicking about, having to pivot to doing everything more virtually. But nothing really has changed. When you do a comparison of your steps to host an event, whether it's in live brick and mortar or whether it's on a digital platform, the first thing you're doing is you're looking for a venue, and it's the same thing virtually. You have to find your digital home where you're going to actually house your events. And then process. Some people were actually still using, a actual ledger, to sign in. But, I think some of us were starting to use more of a digital platform for our registration. And it's the same thing virtually. So in a nutshell, the only thing that really has changed is our location. That's it. We're no longer housed in a brick and mortar. We're just housing our events on a digital platform.
Yes, and a lot less prep that you have to do. You have the flowers and all this other stuff and everything. But so you mentioned digital platforms. So how can you determine what is the best platform for you as a business?
So understanding what that platform looked like is really going to determine what you want to do. Just like if you're in a building, I always say, go back to the comparison. If you're in a building, visual, you need staging, then you're going to find a facility that, one, has it, or two, that can accommodate that. Mm-hmm. So again, if you're on a digital platform and you want to be able to have breakout sessions, you want to be able to record, you want to be able to stream live, then you need to find the right digital platform that's going to allow you to do those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know there's a lot of choices out there. What are you kind of seeing as some of the best practices and some of the benefits and the bells and whistles of some of these different tools that are out there?
So I'm gonna state the obvious. Zoom is one of the number one major digital platforms to house events. You can have short meetings, you can have networking events, you can even have conferences on there. Depending on your budget for your event, just like if you was in brick and mortar, you have to take that in consideration also. The more you do, the more it's going to cost and the more parts you're going to have. But there are some other great digital platforms out there other than Zoom. GoToMeeting is another one. I wouldn't advise it for a conference, but it's definitely great if you want to actually house presentations and just want to have like a picture of yourself in different segments, or kind of messaging what you have in your presentation. I think GoToMeeting is good for that. Join.me is actually almost my favorite. I love Join.me. It's a little more on the pricier side than Zoom, but it gives you so many more customers, and it allows you to house more or just as much as Zoom. And actually, there is a new platform that is there. I'm not going to say yet because I'm actually going to be hosting a webinar about it. But if you had, I think everyone's dream that's using a digital platform to host an event is to be able to have live stream meets, or let me change that. So YouTube meets Eventbrite. Like, wouldn't that be, you could just actually go through Eventbrite and actually stream your conference, your meeting? I mean, that would just be amazing. So stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been interesting to see the different technology used. You know, I was at an event this weekend where there were 22,000 people and they used Zoom.
Oh,
And
wow.
you know,
Yeah.
they had, you know, it was Tony Robbins, so he, you know, built this entire studio to like have 5,000 people up on, you know, these screens in
Mhm.
front of him. And it was just incredible how people are, you know, changing the way they do things, and they're building
Mhm.
software on top of these softwares. And, you know, it's just been interesting to watch. And I sponsor a lot of events too and speak. And so I'm getting to see like all these different platforms and how, you know, some of them, you know, have different styles of breakout rooms and chats and like
Mhm.
the expo halls and things like that. So
Right.
it's, you know, a great time for all of these platforms, obviously, but they're also being
It is.
tested and they're being, you know, put to the test on a lot of this. But it's been,
And you know, another amazing thing about that is that it's so cost effective. I mean, when you think about actually being a sponsor to an event in a brick and mortar, I mean, you don't have the hotel costs, you don't have all the, you know, the expenses of the hall and the rent of the table
mhm.
linens, and it's just so, there's just so many pros to doing things from a virtual platform. I'm not definitely not events brick and mortar. I mean, I want to be sociable, but I think moving forward, if I had to tell the future, I think that now that we have done so great with this digital platform and hosting events, I think it's just